Tensions reached their peak within the four walls of the Madlanga Commission as Northwest businessman Suliman Carrim was forced to take the stand in public after his in-camera bid failed and revealed what he may have been running from. And suspended SABC component head for organised crime Major General Richard Shibiri saw his version fall apart and his fears exposed as the Commission's bench tested his knowledge of the alleged Big Five cartel. I'm Kani Mapanga and this is the Madlanga Wrap.
Engaging counsel has nothing to do with matters being prejudged, and you know that. I take very strong exception to that. In fact, I find it unprofessional for you to say that I have prejudged issues purely because I'm engaging you. I take strong exception to that.
What you put to me was that you weren't going to allow an opportunity for the postponement application.
I did not. I can actually, to be rough, I can say you are lying.
Brown's reasoning was that I should make Vusi believe that I have a relationship with the minister's office. In truth, I did not have any relationship with the minister.
Why in those circumstances did you choose to pay 500,000, one-third of what your first payment was, to Mr. Mamela?
Mr. Matlala put a lot of pressure. He wanted me to pay 750. And once I saw these newspaper articles, I did not want to get into their crosshairs.
Now, the Madlanga Commission kicked off its hearings with a refusal to hear Carrim's testimony in camera. This meant that Carrim would have to give his evidence in full view of the nation, but not without a few spats first. Tensions first spilled over into the probe after an altercation took place between Carrim's lawyer, Advocate Camille Premid, and the Commission's secretary, Dr. Nolita Vuguza, over seating arrangements.
During the break, it was brought to our attention that there was an altercation inside the auditorium. It has also since been brought to our attention that this is now all over television. For the record, I think in the light of the broadcast, I should bring it to the public that we called all the legal representatives outside, and we were briefly advised as to what had taken place. But most importantly, Mr. Premid tendered an unequivocal apology to the Commission Secretary, which the Commission Secretary accepted. I think we should leave it there. Thank you all.
Carrim began his evidence by removing Police Minister Senzo Mchunu from the equation and limiting his interactions with alleged cartel member Vusimuzi Kat Matlala and alleged middleman Brown Mokhotsi to a quote-unquote scam, where Carrim alleges that he was played by the pair and that he pretended to have proximity to the minister in order to recover money that was owed to him.
Brown's reasoning was that I should make Vusi believe that I have a relationship with the minister's office and that he would communicate directly with the minister's officers if, when, and required. Brown was clear that this was required and calculated to make Vusi believe that my involvement and my assistance with the minister and his office would be crucial, and therefore Vusi would therefore need me to pay me my money, or would need to pay me my money. In truth, I did not have any relationship with the minister.
What became strange about Carrim's evidence is that despite being owed money from Kat, he still followed instructions to send a portion of the first payment he received to alleged tender kingpin Morgan Mamela.
Why in those circumstances did you choose to pay 500,000, one-third of what your first payment was, to Mr. Mamela?
Like I said, Council, before, Mr. Matlala put a lot of pressure. He wanted me to pay 750. And once I saw these newspaper articles, I did not want to get into their crosshairs.
Answer by Carrim raised further questions because he told the Commission that his communications with Kat and his alleged pretense with respect to the minister was due to his desperation to recover his money. If that indeed was the case, why would a portion of that first payment go to a third party?
Now, by this stage, you had been worried for quite some time that you weren't being paid on this contract.
Yes, that's correct.
Why did you agree to take a third of your first payment and give it to Mr. Mamela on behalf of Mr. Matlala?
The reason for that, Mr. Matlala kept on putting pressure on me to please advance this money to Morgan. I did ask him, why can't he do it directly? He said, please do it on my behalf.
Now, Carrim's second day of testimony would give the Commission hints as to why that payment had to be made. This as the Commission was set to introduce evidence which would show that Carrim saw payments of 336 million rands to his businesses from municipalities in the Northwest.
We will not refer to a single one of those pages. We've made that clear to Mr. Carrim's team. Why we gave it to them is that there is an infographic on page 505 of the bundle that they've had for some time. What we sent them electronically, and the infographics provides a summary of payments from municipalities in the area in respect of which Mr. Carrim is the ANC treasurer, to companies owned by Mr. Carrim. And it gives a breakdown of where the 336 million or 332 million that these municipalities have paid to Mr. Carrim, where it comes from. The infographic provides a summary. We thought that Mr. Carrim would want to know where we got the infographic from, so we gave him a spreadsheet with line items of every single transaction reflecting a payment from one of those municipalities to a company of Mr. Carrim, with tabs broken up by company. And we made clear to him we're not going to refer to any of those line items. They are totaled, but if he wants to total them himself just to check that our numbers on the infographic are right, he can do that. If he wants to dispute any of those transactions, he can do that.
Tensions were reignited as the probe now turned to money flows, which delved directly into Carrim's business dealings. Carrim's lawyers quickly sought a postponement, and amid arguments, the tensions between the lawyers and the evidence leaders spilled over to the Commission's bench.
But I do want to say, it seems then that you've prejudged an application that
Mr. Bana, I take strong exception to that.
No.
You know, and you are an experienced counsel, you know that people presiding, let me use the court, the example of courts, you know that judges will engage you during argument, engage you to an extent that you will think they are against you. But in the end, you are surprised that the judgment is in your favor. Engaging counsel has nothing to do with matters being prejudged, and you know that. I take very strong exception to that article.
I don't think...
In fact, I find it unprofessional for you to say that I have prejudged issues purely because I'm engaging you. I take strong exception to that.
I don't think that you should take exception. And
I do.
Can I respond, Chair? What you put to me was that you weren't going to allow an opportunity for the postponement application.
I did not. I did not say I am not. I never said so. We can play back the tape. We can play back the recording.
Then I was mistaken.
So that is, I can actually, to be rough, I can say you are lying.
No, then I was mistaken. I understood you to say that you were not prepared to allow a stand down for the postponement application to be brought, but you were ready to consider the stand down to deal with the documents. If I was mistaken in that, then I'm mistaken, but that is clearly how I understood it.
You definitely are. I did not. It was an if situation, which arises all the time during argument.
Then I accept that.
Thank you. And you apologize for what you said, because you basically suggested impropriety on my part, that I've prejudged issues whilst the matter is being debated. Are you tendering an apology for that?
Yes, if I misunderstood it, then I tender an apology. But as you say, the record will indicate, and my recollection is that you said, if you are not prepared...
So you are tendering a qualified apology, a conditional apology?
Chair, if I'm
You
mistaken,
are tendering a
if I'm mistaken,
conditional-
I apologize, but that's not what I heard.
You are saying if the recording can what, so you are tendering a
It's
conditional
what you put to
apology.
me as well, that the recording will reflect what happens. What's good for you is good for me.
So I'm not accepting the so-called apology. Thank you very much.
What would be revealed after this heated exchange is that alleged tender kingpin, that is Morgan Maumela, put up 56 million rands from an asset he sold for a joint mining venture. Well, that is according to Carrim. However, the money was sent to Carrim's business Ziggy, and on the same day, it was sent back to Maumela.
So you had a contract with him that he had to put up 55 million.
Yes, a verbal contract.
You had to put up 55 million.
Yes.
And that 110 million was now going to be used for some mining project.
Yes.
But you agreed immediately he put up the 55 million that, or I think you said it was 56, that he could take his money back.
Mr. Shackleton, if someone comes to you and you're holding that kind of money of theirs and they're sitting in front of you and he says, I'll bring back the money, I want my money back. I had no choice. I said, it's fine. What time frames are we looking at? When will you bring this money back? He said, he's busy with a disposal of another asset. He'll come back to me, but for now he needs to finish his house.
You see, again, one of the things that strikes me as odd about this arrangement is that he sells an asset. The money gets paid into trust at his lawyers. He can instruct those lawyers what to do with that money. He can instruct those lawyers to pay you, or he can instruct those lawyers to pay him. If he wanted the money back, why would he instruct the lawyers to pay you for you to pay the money to him? Why wouldn't he just instruct the lawyers pay me directly?
We'll have to ask him, because the instruction was to pay to me based on the agreement we had on this mining operation.
Now, the second day of testimony seemingly revealed what Carrim may have possibly been running away from, and that is suspicious transactions that point to alleged money laundering and alleged tender fraud. To help us unpack this, we are now joined by specialized security and investigations expert, that is Mr. Mike Borges. Mr. Borges, thank you so much for joining us and welcome to Connecting the Dots again.
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity.
I think at the outset, Mike, is that you can first help us understand what money laundering is and the kind of characteristics that help you identify this, especially with respect to money flows.
It's very interesting. I've been watching now all the snippets that you have showed, and that very clearly shows that is money laundering. It's very complicated to identify it quickly. But what you guys have seen here, what everybody has seen, the shifting of money, then into a lawyer's account, and then back to another guy, and then to another guy, and then to another business, and then again buying assets and then selling them, etc., etc. The more complications there is, but still an understanding amongst the criminals, the better for them, because it just sends everybody on a goose chase, and it makes so many more people that's involved with organized crime, because organized crime is a group of people, senior officials in government, senior officials in the authorities, extreme businessmen, gangsters, hitmen, low-ranking police officers, local police, and municipalities as well. So wherever there is a party involved in, that person might along the way be used where the monies would pass or part of the money would pass. This is obviously also to frustrate SARS and any investigation, because the original money is now gone through 5 or 6 accounts and 5 or 6 different people and parties involved. And while they operate with that money, they try in the end to get it to be legitimate. In other words, it's been stolen from the government and all the way down they try and get it into legitimate businesses. But what is good, what we've seen here is a thorough investigation shows the flow of money. So all these criminals cannot do what they want. In the end, with a new equipped AI SARS investigation unit, I can assure you, if those who understand the complexities, but also the effectiveness of AI, it's a press of a button, and then you have absolutely any and every piece of information regarding Makotsi, Carrim, and whoever has been involved, and it will clearly show the complete flow of the money. So the most important unit here will be the POCA unit. That's the unit that deals with organized crime, hand in hand with the financial institution units, as well as SARS. If you don't get SARS involved here with their highly qualified, specific equipment, which they now have, which we've been reading about, they might get away with it.
And if we look at public funds, because we know at some point the SAP's 360 million contract does feature in these transactions in this kind of nature, how can public funds be taken, or rather taken from tenders, be used for this kind of transaction, which is money laundering?
Well, remember, all these people are in position. The public must understand, how does a tender work? Once a tender is available, from there the corruption starts. That person is going to identify the next level. Where does the tender go to? Say, for instance, a municipality, then they will have their contacts there. So everybody right from the top, from the government highest level, will have their connections one level down. And as this goes all the way down, they can manipulate it, because the next level will send it to the next contact. And then when it comes to issuing the tenders, they are very clever. They'll get in all the tenders, and this is shocking, but this is what they do. They will take the legitimate best tender, and then they will call their contact and say, listen, the tender is for, say, the tenders we got in is roughly between 50 and 60 million. So you put it in for 55, we'll choose you. They'll also help them to assist giving in the correct documentation, because remember, the criminals is not going to give the real CV. They're going to give the best CV and the best documentation and information, which once again already is lined up who they're going to use, whether it's tar roads, whether it's infrastructure work, whether it's hospitals, whatever it is. They all the way down have their, let's call it parts on the chessboard, which they are next going to use, is going to make the next move, and all get cuts. And in the meantime, they might be involved with extreme kidnappings and other forms of crime, like drug trafficking, or even human trafficking, etc., or cash in transit heists, or kite flying. And those cash monies, they would also try and put into legitimate business. The understanding of organized crime is of extreme importance to the Madlanga Commission and the hearings, as well as to SARS, which I think they are, because if you are not understanding what organized crime and racketeering is, it's very difficult to catch these guys.
And lastly, very quickly, Mike, we have run out of time. If we look at the transactions between Carrim, Maumela and Kat Matlala, it seems that he was using Carrim as the middle point to send money to Maumela. What do you quickly make of those transactions where we see consistently a portion sent back to Maumela, and now Carrim's dealings are coming in, where we're seeing that his businesses too were used to allegedly legitimize those transactions with Maumela?
Well, 10 out of 10 now, they got it right, and now they've done it. And that's exactly how organized crime works. But in the end, when this kind of thing is exposed, and like the generals that has been brought in to give information, and everybody else that's been in this hearings has pinpointed one and the other. So, the house of cards is falling, because you see the arguments between them, you see the fear, you see the intimidation, you see those who have been shot, You see the whole picture now as we're getting to the end of this hearing, and how the cat is in the pigeon pen. It's disarray, it's fear, it's everything in it, and that's why. But this is how you do organized crime as they have done it.
All right, thank you very much, Mike. We have run out of time. That was Mike Bolhuis giving us insightful information regarding alleged money laundering, how it works, and how those tenders can form part of those deep, sinister networks. Now, Carrim was followed by suspended SABC component head for organized crime, Major General Richard Shibiri, whose version fell to pieces once it was put to the test. Find out why after the break. Now, Shabiri, who offered several denials to the allegations against him, which in the main deal with alleged interference, saw each denial suffer losses to their evidence before the probe. Serious doubts were cast on his version that the money Cat Madlanga gave him to the tune of 70,000 rands was a loan for vehicle repairs. This, as his bank statements showed, a positive balance, not a person who was in dire financial straits, and that the payment lines up with a family gathering Shabiri held in Tzaneen, Limpopo.
It's either another coincidence that the payment is made 2 days before your celebration on the 20th of September. He also knows about the celebration. Is that not more consistent with you getting the money for that purpose as opposed to for the vehicle for your son, to repair his vehicle?
But really, let me use the right word. Really, it doesn't make sense, because there is money which showed in my account, or my account of my son, money showing paying for parts and whatsoever, and you still insist. I don't know for what reason.
Shabiri further testified that he informed investigators of a bribe offer and cautioned those investigators against taking it, and also suggested a threat and risk assessment for the officers. But it was put to him that this grey area he created was allegedly deliberate and to cause confusion.
On the one hand, you're telling them about the bribe. On the other hand, you're suggesting to them that there must be a threat and risk assessment, and you are also assisting them with trying to fast-track the forensics.
Meanwhile, Shabiri expressed fears of mentioning a name in the recording of his 16 December conversation with Witness A. In that said conversation, Shabiri dropped several names. However, he denies that it was members of the alleged Big Five cartel. Shabiri, in that call, was also seeking information on the Amant Swat murder case, which implicates alleged cartel member Katiso Katie Molefe. And he was seeking it because Lieutenant General Shadrack Sibiya allegedly wanted it for the quote-unquote other side. When probed on this other side, a clearly uncomfortable and somewhat scared Shabiri stayed mum on those details.
So what is the primary reason that you are referring to them as a group of five? It can't just be because they have companies together.
I'm saying they were a group of 5 partners, according to information, and that is what I said even today, to say information I got that the arrested person, he was belonging to the group of the deceased, and they were about 5. They are having also companies.
Now, Shabiri, who has concluded his evidence, is yet another high-ranking SABC official who sees their over 30 years of service to the SABC reduced to their alleged association with alleged cartel members. Witness F, aka Sergeant Kosi, who is not too far from these allegations, is expected to return to the stand on Monday at 9:30 a.m. after he took ill. He will have to finish his evidence where it is alleged that he was a middleman for Lieutenant General Shadrack Sibiya and alleged shadowy figures. Will his testimony affirm this or dispute the allegation? Find out next week Sunday at 5 p.m. when we unpack his evidence from the probe.